Welcome to Confluence Conversations, the podcast where we explore impactful topics shaping education, communities, and student success. I am your host, Dr. Leslie Muhammad, Director of Student Services and Parent Engagement at Confluence Academies. And I am excited to bring you another insightful discussion today. Our goal with this podcast is to engage in meaningful conversations with experts, educators, and changemakers who are working to make a difference. Through these discussions, we aim to inform, inspire, and provide valuable resources for students, parents, and educators alike. Today, we're spotlighting a program that uplifts lives and reshapes futures, the Urban League's Save Our Sons initiative. For many men in St. Louis region, access to career opportunities can be blocked by barriers like economic hardship, lack of mentorship, or systematic inequalities. Save Our Sons is committed to changing that by equipping participants with job skills, confidence, and the support system they need to succeed. This program isn't just about employment, it's about personal growth, family, stability, and creating lasting changes in our community. To help us explore this impactful program, I am honored to welcome our guest, Tydrell Stevens, Regional Director of Save Our Sons Plus Sisters at the Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis. Tydrell brings leadership and a deep passion for community development to this work, guiding participants through career training, mentorship, and real-world preparation that opens doors to opportunity. Tydrell, thank you for being with us today. Can you start by telling us a little bit about yourself, your background, and what led you to this role with Save Our Sons?
So I was born and raised here in St. Louis. I believe for me, workforce development has been embedded in me for a long time. At a young age, I started in a workforce development program myself. Started at the age of 15 and was fortunate enough through a lot of hard work and work ethic, which I have to thank my father and my brothers for, moving directly into a supervisor role at the age of 17 and was actually the youngest person on the team. Wow. So that led me down a course of really understanding that I can achieve anything. And it forced me to really look at my peers, my friends, those that I grew up with, and wanted to see better in everybody around us. And I understood that there was a way to do it, and it was going to take a lot of hard work. And that's what really started my journey in this role and what helped lead me to this role. There was a lot of work in between that when we think about some of the things I learned in high school, some of the mentors I had, I think was very influential in me becoming the man that I am today. And I'm just thankful for this opportunity to be in this role and to give back and to use some of the same skills that I received at a young age to impart into the men and women that we serve and Save Our Sons and Sisters.
Wow, that is just an amazing background. It's actually very forthright in telling that you're definitely on the journey and the right path of helping others based on what you experienced as a young youth and giving back to the community. Can you tell me a little bit about the mission of Save Our Sons and what does the program aim to achieve?
Well, our ultimate goal at Save Our Sons and Sisters is to empower the men and women in our community to achieve economic self-reliance. That's the ultimate goal.
Okay. And how did the program get started? How did this evolve to what it is today?
So Save Our Sons and Sisters was birthed out of the Michael Brown unrest. When we go back during those times, it was rough, right? Our CEO, Michael P. McMillan, and the staff at the Urban League hit the ground with everybody in Ferguson really to understand what was needed. What could we do to help? We didn't want to seem as if we were there leading that, but what can we do to provide support? And the number one thing was jobs and opportunities. Men and women were saying we just don't get the jobs we look for. We don't get the opportunities. What do we do? Where do we turn to? And that birthed the Save Our Sons and Sisters program.
So what do those services look like in real time that you offer?
So ultimately, we teach life skills and soft skills, which is really the core and the number one thing that an individual needs to be successful, whether it's in the workplace or in entrepreneurship. When we think about the Urban League, being the number one organization historically that have put African Americans to work throughout this country, we look at the growth here in St. Louis and us having over 55 different programs. Coming in to Save Our Sons, yes, you're coming to learn how to get a job, keep a job, how to get promoted, and how to remain marketable. But it's those wraparound services within the Urban League that helps us be successful when we think of housing, when we think of our public safety, when we think of our energy assistance programs, when we think of our financial literacy programs, when we think of our computer lab when it comes to technology and making sure that we're serving people that they have the technology skills to get to the next level in whatever job they may get. When we think about just removing barriers, right? One of the things I think we like to pride ourselves on is our ability to almost remove any barrier, whether it's transportation. If an individual gets a job, right, we can help at times put a down payment on their car if they've been successful for so many months on their job.
That is all telling. I'm wondering, what does that look like? What is a typical day if I'm a participant in that program? What does that look like for someone?
So it can vary. It can vary based off your entry point into the program, and it can vary on the program that you're coming into. The fortunate part about us is our level of growth, right? When we first started, we had our Save Our Sons class, our 4-week class, and thankful to the employer partners in our region for being present daily in those classes, making sure that individuals knew that they had an opportunity to get a job and keep a job.
If I'm a particular individual in that program, what is the long-term support that you would provide me if I was a participant after completion? Now I'm employed. Is there any after support that an individual is given?
Yes, there is some after support, but I'm going to go back. I don't think I quite answered your last question all the way, right? So when we think about a person's journey in Save Our Sons, a person can walk into our office, and the great part about our team, we have a team of people that love to greet people well. We understand the climate of our communities. We understand what individuals are going through. We understand really the tough road that people have been on a journey on. So we want to make sure, first and foremost, that a person feels welcome. Sometimes we're the last hope for some people, as they have told us. They've been around to many places, and they're hoping that this stop here can be the chance for them to make a difference in their life. So at that point, we really assess them and take them through some assessment tools and kind of discover what it is they're looking to do. We sign them up for our class if they need the class. But ultimately, we also offer the wide range of programs within Save Our Sons, which can be our paid internship program, which can be our skills program where we pay for training programs for individuals to be upskilled. It can be our energy program with our partners with Spire and Ameren to put them into an energy career. It can be our Bowen pre-employment program, boot camp, to make sure that when they go into the community college to get into it and they take that entry exam, that they're able to pass that entry exam. Mm-hmm. So our job is to make sure when a person comes through our doors that whatever journey that they want to go on or whatever goals and dreams or passions they have in life, that we help bring that out of them, and then we help them along the way to get there.
Sounds like you all have definitely taken a lot of concentration in what actually is the barriers for our community. And I'm really interested if you could tell me, after I'm employed, is there a connection that I still have there? Is there a mentorship program? What does that look like?
So the connection is really with our workforce development specialist. Our workforce specialist job is to not only help get you the job, but to case manage you and work with you throughout that process, right? You may be on your job and you just may have mismanaged some money, right? When it comes to week 6 or when you get 3 months in, you may have had some bills that got out of control. So our job is to make sure we're there to help you when you stumble, right, to help you back up and keep you going and keep you motivated. So our workforce specialists, they do a great job at working with their clients in that capacity. We have a lot of clients that come back several years later. Some people come back and tell us they're still on the job 4 or 5 years later. So that's really rewarding when we see that.
And it sounds like it sets you apart from other programmings that workforce specialists really can be there. As we all know, when you become employed, mm-hmm. there are hurdles that you come into, unfortunately, in contact with, and it sounds like that's someone they could fall back on. Do you have a success story that you'd like to share with us today? I'm sure you have many.
Tons. If I'm going through my memory, just trying to jog to see some of the greatest ones that we have, I think I'll start with one about Johnny Cotton. Johnny Cotton was an individual that came to us after he was granted clemency from Obama on Obama's last day. He was released to the Dismiss House, which is really a couple blocks down from our office on Kings Highway. And he came in, really didn't know what he wanted to do. Right, he said the world looked different. He had a 30-year sentence and did 17 years for a low-level drug charge. He just didn't know. He didn't want to get caught up and find himself back in jail. So he came in. He was diligent. He came to class every day. We tried some different opportunities to see what worked, and we landed at MoDOT. So for him, he went from being an inmate of the state to working for the state. And he's now been employed there for 5 years, got his 5-year vested in benefits, and also has been moved up to supervisor. So I'll have to say that is a great success story, as a lot of individuals try to undermine and look at those individuals being released as they was just go back to jail, right? And we want to make sure we change that paradigm.
That is an absolutely amazing story for others to hear, that somebody could succumb in one incident and then become high in another one and is still flying. I call it flying because 5 years in, that says a lot about your program. It says a lot about the support that you all are able to provide. And then for somebody to come back and basically saying thank you for assisting him and making his life change around. How would you say that transcribes in our community or their families? Your program, what impact does it have?
Well, it has a huge impact. When we look at right now, currently, we serve throughout our 5 locations over 3,200 people a year. We place over 1,200 of those individuals on jobs. When you look at the economic impact it has, we're looking at over $17 million that have been pumped into our communities through workforce. And it's important when we think of whether it's the home that individual lives in, whether it's the street they live on, whether it's the local business in the neighborhood that person can go in and spend their dollars at. So when we look at this whole ecosystem, workforce plays a huge part. And us being intentional with placing people on really gainful paying jobs is going to be crucial and critical, especially with the climate where we're at now in our country. I think it's more important more than ever to make sure that we keep our unemployment levels low in our neighborhoods. And I think this is a huge way and one of the most impactful ways to try to climb us out of poverty.
What would you say some of the barriers are to the participants in your program?
Some of the number one barriers, you have our mental health issues with some individuals, but you just have transportation barriers. Sometimes you have child care barriers. Sometimes it's just an individual getting a job and they need work boots, right? Without us, sometimes if a person has not worked for quite a while, purchasing those work boots can be tough. So when the employer realizes that an individual does not show up on day one, and oftentimes a person didn't have the tools that they needed to be successful, and they just shut down and didn't show up. So we're being able, and we've caught individuals like that have said, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to take this job. I can't do this. I won't be able to purchase that. And when they find out that we can take care of those things, it helps them. It brings another level of hope to them. And it also gives them the confidence to know that they have a support system to make it through, so they don't have to be quick to give up when that obstacles comes to them.
So you've talked a little bit about the mentorship aspect. Can you tell me if there's any financial literacy aspect that is brought to your program to assist your participants?
Yeah, so we deal with several banking partners, mostly credit unions, when it comes to our clients. We make sure we have partners that offer second chance banking that also comes in and teaches financial literacy. When I spoke about our down payment car program, we do take individuals through a budget meeting to really understand and see where their finances are, see what type of car they can afford. And oftentimes when that conversation starts, it starts one way with them wanting one thing, right? And after we go through the budget, they quickly realize really what they have the means to take care of. And it really shows us the importance of financial literacy, because if a person goes after and they don't know what they don't know. And they find themselves trapped in situations that then bring their confidence back down and takes their hope away. So I think the fact that we offer the financial literacy, the fact that we're able to open the bank accounts with individuals through our partners is crucial.
Which would be something oftentimes that people wouldn't even have access to if it wasn't for Saving Our Sons, and really understanding that if I have employment, I still need to know what to do financially. So that kind of brings it totally full circle. Tell me what's in the future for Saving Our Sons. What's next?
More growth. More growth. Right now, we're growing over in the Illinois area. So currently we have 5 locations here on the Missouri side. We're adding one more, and we'll have 2 in Illinois. Right now, Memphis has picked up Save Our Sons, so we're working with Memphis to continue to grow them. And other cities is continuing to grow. But I would say here locally, it's really been intentional on workforce solutions, right? When we look at jobs like Ameren, right? You have to get into Ameren, you have to pass the CASTAR test. And when we look at it, there was nothing in the region that offered that prep test, right? So the numbers are high on those that fail that test within our community. So one of the first things we did was got with STLCC, and we relaunched the CAS test prep class. And for us, that's being intentional on what we like to call workforce solutions, to make sure that whatever is hindering us from getting into certain careers and to certain industries, that we take a deep dive into understanding what it is and then working with our team to remove those barriers and then look to place our individuals in jobs. When we look at the Bowen pre-employment program, entry into that, you have to take a test. So far, 97% of the individuals that have went through our program has now passed that test, and several have been hired by Bowen. The same for Ameren as well.
So those are very high percentages. And what's even more interesting is the community involvement that you have and the partnerships you have. Can you tell me how could the community members or employers or educators be involved and support the mission of Saving Our Sons?
First, I want to thank the employer partners we have. We have at this moment now over 250 employer partners throughout the region. And I have to say they have really been a huge backbone of our program. Because without the jobs, right, that hope stays there. And the fact that individuals not only offer jobs, but offer their services to come in and speak to our clients, to run mock interview sessions, has been really huge. And we welcome any and more individuals and companies to come along with us as we look to place great talent into their companies. When we talk about the climate we're in, it's really about that, right? Building great talent. Right. If you're looking to get into a job, how do you truly be successful? And these partnerships that we have has helped us along the way. So at the moment, they can reach us at our main office and call us at 314-626-9977, or they can reach out to us on our website at ulstl.com.
Let me ask you something, Tydrell. What would you say to a potential participant? What advice would you give them if they're considering joining the program?
Dig into yourself and understand what it is that you want to do. Right? I know that question is often asked to individuals, what do you want to do? And oftentimes a person don't know. And realistically, they do know. Right? They just have not put a lot of thought into it. And a lot of time it's what their passion is. So we like to tell people to turn their passion into their purpose. I spoke to a client before. He was actually an individual in and out of jail. And I asked him, what do you want? What it is that you want to do? He said, well, I work at a warehouse. I said, well, everybody can get a warehouse job, but let's talk more. What else could you do? He said, well, I've been to jail, so I don't know what's available. All I think I can do is work a warehouse job. I'm like, so you're telling me there's nothing since a child that you've ever wanted to do in life? There's nothing you used to wake up and say you just wanted to be. And he said, when I was young, I always wanted to be a veterinarian, right? And the fact that he mentioned that and some of his close families didn't know about that. I think that's what it's about. It's about really talking to a person and bringing it out of them. When we look at the individuals that walk through our offices, most people never really ask them what it is they want to do. It's always really, you need to do this or you have to do this to be successful, and not really having a real heart-to-heart conversation about what passion do they have. And oftentimes when we do that, we find those areas that people want to be in.
I like what you said about turning your passion into purpose, because obviously you have done that, or you wouldn't be here where you are today, or really being able to assist all of the persons that you have assisted in your programming. Are there any last remarks or things that you would want to say to your listeners today?
Last remarks I would say is everybody just needs to be intentional, I believe. I believe that we as a community have to get away from conditioned responses, right? If we get away from conditioned responses and we look at the facts and we look at where our economy may be headed, I believe we can better serve each other. When we talk about jobs and careers, right now currently, 53% of the jobs in Missouri are middle skill jobs. So there's jobs with 18 months or less training. But when you look at our numbers of individuals that we're putting in vocational and training programs, fresh out of high school is alarmingly low when you look at 53% of the jobs being in middle skills. So I think it's really about us being intentional when we have conversations with each other and make sure we're leading people into the right direction of where they need to go.
I would like to say our community should be very grateful. That's the word I want to use for having Saving Our Sons, because you all are opening doors for people who would never have their door open. It just kind of that resonates with me. I want to thank you, Tydrell, for coming today and providing us more insight in what Saving Our Sons does and what the Urban League of Metropolitan St. Louis is doing for our communities as well. I also want to tell our listeners, please make sure you tune in for more conversations and episodes from Confluence Academies. And I also want to tell our listeners to please invite others to listen to our broadcasts, as this is a place where people can come to not only find out about what's going on in our communities, but how to assist others in our communities. I would like to thank everybody for listening to our episode today. We look forward to more episodes from Confluence Academies.